Welcome friends to another r/NuclearRevenge video. Today is a crazy story of someone's sibling cheating with their own partner. It's written by Nika Markey99. I found out my sister's been screwing my boyfriend behind my back. I get even. Little backstory first. I was born into a broken family. My father was a drug addict. My mother, on the other hand, was the kindest, strongest woman I know. Fortunately, they separated just after the birth of my younger sister, who was only younger than me by a year. I took after my mother. My sister, though, apart from my mother's looks, she got everything else from dad. Now, the thing is, my father was a horrible person, even before he became a drug addict. He was an arrogant, selfish, insufferable jerk, and not only that, he also cheated on my mother multiple times while she was pregnant with me and my sister, and he also physically hurt her. He was so horrible to the point that when he left, my mother said it was the happiest day of her life. She continued raising us all by herself while my dad went to God knows where, and you know what? I've never even missed him. 18 years later, me and my sister were all grown up, and the thing is, we've never really been that close. We fought a lot when we were younger, but it was all usual sibling fights. As we grew, we fought less and less, and we were able to coexist like all siblings do. And though I didn't express it all the time, I did love her. Here's where it all goes to crap. In my senior year of high school, I started dating one of my classmates. He had just transferred during that year and said that he liked me immediately and asked me to go out with him if I was interested. I give the guy a chance. It goes extremely well. And just 2 months later, we were officially dating. He was sweet, would treat me to lunch, take me to places, and was just a great boyfriend overall. We continued to date through our first year and second year of college, and he comes over at our house pretty frequently, and my mom even lets him stay the night. It came to the point that he would come there even when I wasn't, and I thought nothing of it. I was even glad that he felt so comfortable there. Until one day, just a month before our anniversary, I texted him that I would be home later than usual because I still had something to do in school. I was already in my third year and I was busier than I was before. Since we usually go home together, he asked me what time do I think I'll be home. And I said, probably after dinner, so he can pick me up then. He says, okay. Fortunately though, I managed to finish earlier than I thought. And instead of texting him to pick me up, I decided to surprise him by coming to his house, since it's been a while since we spent time together, and I missed him. When I got there, his sister, whom I was very close with, was visibly confused and immediately asks me what I was doing there. I told her I was there to see her brother, and she becomes even more confused and says, "He told me he was coming to your house to see you though? He left hours ago." This time, I'm the one who's confused, so I quickly turned around and went home. Thankfully, our houses were only 15 minutes apart from each other, so I got there quickly. The next 20 minutes were like heck. I come home to find his bike outside. The house was dark, and I tried my bestest to go inside as quietly as I could. By the time I got up the stairs, I hear it. Moans, female and male. The male one sounding particularly like my boyfriend. Tears immediately flooded my eyes. I didn't even need to see to know it was him. My boyfriend of almost 3 years screwing my sister. My feet suddenly had a mind of its own, and I yanked the door open. I was seething at this point. The witch was riding him like a mechanical bull. I stood there as my now ex pushes her off of him, shocked as he puts his clothes back on in light speed and starts spewing excuses. I wasn't listening at all. I was sobbing so much I couldn't breathe. The jerk follows me all the way downstairs, and I yell at him that if he doesn't leave that instant, I would tell his entire family. He leaves, and I was left with my sister. I couldn't even look at her. I stayed downstairs calming myself down until my mom came home from work. She immediately notices something's wrong, but I don't tell her yet. Dinner starts and I felt like crying again. And you know what's even worse? When my sister came down and sat just across from me, I saw no hint of remorse or guilt on her face. Absolutely none. I felt sick. I wanted to vomit. And I swear that at some point during dinner, that evil witch even smirked. A week goes by and I don't say anything. I was so hurt. My ex wasn't saying anything too. No phone calls, text, nothing. And so did my sister. Not a single freaking sorry. I felt so defeated. I was crying multiple times a day and I couldn't even focus in school. One day I finally snap and I tell my mother everything. She was extremely disappointed. She scolds my sister, but she didn't even seem to care. And then suddenly I remembered my ex had told me his passwords. He had told me early in our relationship, and I never bothered to open them because I was never the type to go through my significant other's messages. I trusted the freaker, and this is what I get. Anyway, I managed to open his Messenger account, and there I see hundreds of messages between him and my sister. I felt weak in the knees. It had been going on for almost 4 months then. I took screenshots. Turns out they'd been going out while I would be at school. All 3 of us were from different schools. My sister couldn't get into mine because her grades were too low, and so was my boyfriend's. My pain quickly turned into anger, and I wanted nothing more than to make them both pay. I couldn't stomach the sight of my sister. The fact that she would go behind my back like that over some guy made me freaking sick. We were supposed to always be there for each other. After a month, I asked my mother if I can move out and live with my aunt for a while because I just couldn't take it anymore. She was sad, but she understood. I felt so sorry for her. She held my sister accountable for what she did, but at the end of the day, she was still her daughter, so she can't completely turn her back on her. I didn't want to give her the burden of having to choose, so I did instead. So I moved out and lived with my aunt and promised to keep in touch. The next 6 months were basically me putting my crap back together. I became a working student and did some freelance work to earn some money, and as I started to earn more, I dropped out of school completely and became a full-time freelancer. As the months went by, I would earn more and more, and I had more than enough money to spend for myself, and from then on, I started to send money to my mom monthly. One day, I got curious and decided to check on my sister and ex. When I unblocked them, I regretted it instantly. The jerks were still together, and my sister was even flaunting their relationship on Instagram. Suddenly, it's as if no time had passed by at all, and I was angry yet again. I scrolled through more pictures, and it was obvious that my sister was completely in love with him. I acted on anger. I sent the screenshots I took from before and sent it to our cousins and told them everything. They all ended up hating her. And then I sent it to my ex's sister and also told her everything. She punched him and told their parents, and a day later, I received a text from them apologizing on behalf of their son. It made me feel slightly better. A week later, my mom asks me to come home to spend the weekend. I decide to say yes this time. I stop by a mall on the way to get a gift for my mom, and guess who I see? My ex-boyfriend with a girl who wasn't my sister holding hands. I laugh hard. The urge to take my phone out to take a picture and send it to my sister was so strong, but I stopped myself. It wouldn't be painful enough. So I hide where he can't see me and followed them. After about an hour, she goes to the bathroom. I follow her there. I approach her when she comes out of the cubicle and say, "Is the guy you're with your boyfriend?" She looks a little bit scared and confused, but she answers, "Yes." Nonetheless, I quickly tell her that the same guy is currently dating my sister and even showed her some pictures. The girl was completely horrified. She said she had no idea that he was seeing someone else, and I fought the urge to laugh. I tell her to get rid of him quickly, and I'll tell her everything she needed to know, but also asked her not to dump him yet. So she makes up an excuse to him about an emergency at home, and they go their separate ways for the day. We meet up at a coffee shop close to the mall afterwards. There, I spill everything, including all the details about the cheating. When I finished, she looked so mad, almost as if it had happened to her. And then she goes on to reveal that a longtime boyfriend of hers actually cheated on her as well. We talked some more, and as time passed by, I came to discover that the girl was actually really sweet, and I felt sorry that she became a victim as my ex as well. She asked me if I was going to get revenge, and I said yes, but I needed her help. But I also told her she could say no if she didn't want to, but she said she wanted to help. So I told her my plan, and she was all for it. I came home that night excited, my mom seemed pleased, and my sister looked a little pissed. I didn't give a freak though, since I had the knowledge that my ex-boyfriend, the guy she destroyed our relationship for, was on his way to destroy her. The girl and I talked for the next 3 weeks I was there, and she would send me screenshots of her and my ex's convo, and also pics of them together. We continued to talk even after I came back to my aunt's house, and exactly 2 months after we met, the plan was finally in action. It was a week before my ex and my sister's anniversary. Yes, they had an anniversary, and I was about to give her the greatest gift. By that time, my ex had confessed to the other girl about his relationship with my sister, but she told him that it was okay and that they could still be together because she didn't care. Little did he know, her and I were basically best friends now and had come up with a master plan to ruin his life. I come home again and spent the week there leading up to their anniversary. It was the longest week of my life. The day finally comes, and after my sister leaves to go to his house, I wait a few hours. Then I FaceTime his sister to ask if the two jerks were home. She says yes. Then I send it. Dozens of pictures of my ex with the other girl and screenshots of their conversations. Ones where he was telling her how much he loves her and how he's planning to leave my sister for her soon. There was one where he even expressed how annoying he found her and that he sometimes wants to strangle her. A whole bunch of other screenshots where he insults her, calls her stupid, desperate, and many more. He also said that she was awful in bed and was way too noisy and that he barely touched her the past few days. Ouch. But it wasn't enough for me. The final touch was a 3-minute long video of my friend and my ex screwing. Yes, she gave me her full consent to send it. She was on top, exactly how I found my sister and ex before, and she was galloping to oblivion, but I cropped it so her face wasn't shown, but my ex's was in full view. It was hilarious. The jerk was enjoying it so much, and I know my sister would probably have a seizure once she watches it. Afterwards, I wait. I was still on FaceTime with his sister, and after a while I hear it. Screaming, objects being thrown, more screaming. His sister comes upstairs to check on them and I hear everything. My sister was sobbing, and what's even more screwed up is that my ex didn't even try to deny any of it and asked her to just leave. Her sister and I talk some more, and she tells me how she's never liked my sister and so did their parents. They said that they would ignore her whenever she would come by at their house. She would even ask about me sometimes just to piss her off. After about an hour, my sister finally comes home, and I sat there grinning like a devil as she steps into the living room, face puffy from crying. We make eye contact and I smirked at her and said, "You deserve it," before going upstairs. I don't speak to her again, and for days she refused to even leave her room. The satisfaction I felt was through the roof, and I even told my mom that I could move back in now. But it didn't end there, because my ex had gotten my sister pregnant. A huge part of me wasn't shocked, but my mom was of course disappointed. We had to tell the rest of our family, and they were all disappointed with her as well. Before she gave birth, my sister told my mom she was gonna move in with my ex's family since they had to take care of their baby, and my mom refused to let him step foot in our house again. But since our houses were really close to each other, she agreed. It was pathetic. It was obvious that she still wanted to be with him even after everything he did, but hey, wasn't my problem anymore. But according to my ex's sister though, her parents weren't too happy about the whole thing. And although my ex said he would take responsibility of his child, he didn't want anything to do with my sister anymore. Freaking jerk. So I continued to live my life, working, going out, and focusing on becoming even better. It didn't take long for me to finally be happy again, and all the pain and betrayal felt like a distant memory. I reconnected with my old friends and even started dating again. I also kept in touch with the girl who helped me with my revenge. She of course dumped my ex, broke up with him just the day after it all went down, and we're genuinely good friends now and meet when we can. I don't keep in touch with my sister at all, but according to my ex's sister, she's absolutely miserable because she had to drop out of school and my ex barely spoke to her and would always be gone, sometimes for days, and even brought home girls on multiple occasions and hooked up with them in that same house my pregnant sister was in. He also wasn't there when she gave birth. I didn't feel sorry for her at all since she chose to stay with him, but I did feel sorry for the kid for having those two jerks as his parents. They would go to our house at least 3 times a week to see my mother, and my sister would completely ignore my existence. Guess what? The witch still hasn't apologized. I didn't really care at that point, so I ignored it. But one time, I kindly offered to buy her some baby clothes, and she fixed me with the nastiest look before saying, "We don't need your freaking money." I was appalled, and then I was pissed again. Alright then, if that's how she wanted to play. Funnily enough, I ran into my ex at a bar just a couple of days later. He looks freaking terrible, and I question what I even saw in him. He sees me and actually looks happy. I, on the other hand, no longer felt anything for him, only disgust. He tries to make conversation, telling me I looked great and even apologizes. I was shocked, but his apology didn't really mean crap to me anymore. Later that night, I received a bunch of messages from him. He was apologizing again and went on to say how much he regrets cheating on me before begging for another chance, and swears that this time things would be different and that he was gonna change for me. I laughed so hard I fall off my bed. The ocean would dry up before I'll even think about taking his butt back. But since my sister pissed me off once again and I was feeling a little petty, I sent her the screenshots of those messages with the caption, "This your baby daddy?" I knew she was still in love with him, even after everything, and I knew that it would hurt her to see how he's willing to change for me, but not for her, the mother of his darn child. He barely even gave her money for their child. It was only ex's parents and my mom who supported her financially. She blocked me. And no, I don't ever take my ex back. Last I heard, he started using drugs. Fast forward to now, I continue to thrive while she continues to be miserable. We recently had a family reunion, and at one point she says to our relatives that she's having a hard time, and one of our cousins looks her dead in the eyes and says, "Well, maybe if you hadn't screwed your sister's boyfriend, you wouldn't be in this position." She was absolutely dumbfounded and there were tears in her eyes. I almost choked on my wine to keep from laughing. She probably didn't think they knew. Well, now she does, and they all didn't bother to hide how much they despised her. She had no one on her side and was considered the disappointment of the family, but she only has herself to blame. With stories like this, I usually like to ask you guys if they deserved how the outcome really turned out, but honestly, considering everything that happened here, I think it's totally just what happened. For those of you that are close with your siblings or even cousins, if you found out your cousin went and cheated on their sibling like that, will that completely sour how you feel about them for the rest of your relationship? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.